Hanny Time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Now, here's Charles Sandegriff.
Hey, good morning. Welcome into Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Sandegriff, Mario Jerez, and Taylor Sharp. Take you up to about 11:40, seeing the Brian Kelly press conference, and we'll be back after that to walk you up to Hunt Hill. Is it just me, or is everybody in a pretty good mood today? It's like the sun's shining a little bit brighter. The air is cool. Everybody's in a good mood. Is it just me? Every now and then in sports, you get exactly what you were hoping for. I sat here last week and said, man, look, this is going to be a really cool weekend, okay? With all of the games that we got lined up, you can't possibly not be looking forward. If you're a football fan, this is utopia. This is great. But then to have all of the games that came down exactly the way that they did, this is the best. You know, some weekends you come in, it's like, man, my team lost. The game stunk. You know, it's like, why do I do it? This is why you do this. You got the best card in college football of the year for sure, but then you had so many games deliver. Obviously, LSU winning helps, okay, but the other games in the top 10, I mean, in Alabama and Tennessee, could the game have been any more exciting? And if Alabama wins it, yeah, that would have stunk, but Tennessee wins it. The entire state of Tennessee loses their mind, which is great. By the way, the league fined Tennessee today $100,000 for the fans storming the field. And I'm sure Tennessee will pay this with a smile on their face. But if I was the president of the University of Tennessee, I'd call up Greg Sankey and say, hey, what were we supposed to do? Have our public address announcer say, please, everybody stay off the field? Honestly, what were they? It's 100,000 people. They haven't beaten Alabama in 15 years, and they're coming onto the field. What was Tennessee? If Tennessee had been negligent in some way and said, everybody onto the field, you know, those officials were running for their lives. the ones under the goalposts. And if you've seen the kick by now, it clears the crossbar by no more than 3 or 4 feet. I mean, it was really close. When I was watching it live, seeing the kind of knuckleball that it was, I thought maybe a lineman had gotten a hand on it. And I'm like, it's straight, but is it going to get there? It got there, but not by much. So what is Tennessee supposed to do? Are they supposed to say, everybody stay off the field and expect 100,000 people who have been suffering for 15 years? No. If you're the league, you call Tennessee today and you say, you know what? Do what you can. Make your announcement. Have ample security, but we understand that you can't stop 100,000 people from coming onto the field. Beating Alabama is that much fun. So much fun that they picked up the goalposts, hauled them out of the stadium, hauled them down the street, threw them in the Tennessee River. And then Tennessee had the audacity to start a GoFundMe to pay for the goalposts. Look, okay, it's going to cost you a little bit of money. The price of success. But that, you know, it wasn't just that game. I mean, it was TCU and Oklahoma State and Utah and USC. The LSU game was fantastic. The Michigan game wasn't very good. They dominated them, but they were so. Texas and Iowa State was good. Oklahoma and Kansas was good. James Madison lost for the first time. You probably weren't watching that. Stanford beat Notre Dame. The Bear had a great stat this morning. There have been 10 times this year where a favorite of at least 16 points has lost at home. Notre Dame's done it twice. As a 16-point favorite, has lost twice. If you have to ask if Brian Kelly is a good coach, just don't compare him to Billy Napier at Florida. I spent half of my week last week telling you why that was a stupid comparison. Compare him to the guy at Notre Dame. You think would Notre Dame be 3-3 if Kelly was still a coach? No. They would be better. I believe, I can't prove it, but I think they would have beat Stanford on Saturday. I think they would have beat Marshall back in September. Coaching matters. If Sean Payton were still coaching the Saints, I think they'd be 4-2 instead of 2-4. Sorry, Dennis Allen. But the guy on the sideline wearing the headsets, it matters. Kentucky and Mississippi State was interesting. There were just so many good games. This was and then on Sunday, Saints and Bengals. It was entertaining. The Saints lost, but it was entertaining. The Chiefs and Bills. If you showed up at halftime, the second half was really good. You had to enjoy that. Even Eagles and Cowboys last night was interesting. So it was a great weekend all the way around. And obviously for LSU fans, you wake up today and you feel hopeful. At least you should, because it wasn't that LSU won the game. It was how they won it. You may have found something at quarterback now. This is a big deal. I mean, I can say Jaden Daniels had a great game, and maybe it was a little bit flukish. It wasn't flukish. The guy finally is doing what the coaches have been asking him to do all year, which is what the wide receivers have been asking him to do all year. Throw us the ball. Trust us. We're going to make some plays. If you throw an interception, that happens, but let us go make plays. You see Keyshawn Boutte the other night? Listen, I have questions at times like, man, is that guy just going to punch out? Is he just, kind of, going through the motions here to get through? No, give the young man credit. He's hung in there. Hadn't been the easiest thing, but he was engaged. You see the body language, like, yeah, throw us the ball, man. You see Daniels on the sideline. Throw us I can throw the ball to these guys, and we're going to win. This is when it gets fun. When the players start to get it, it's like the little montage in Hoosiers, at the beginning where they don't really get it. Why are we dribbling around folding chairs in practice? This is not any fun. And then when they started, when the best player shows up and he starts to play really well, it's like, oh wait, this is fun now. That's why that's why you can be encouraged as an LSU fan today that if Jaden Daniels. And you saw a few of these throws against Tennessee, a few. It got lost because LSU got routed and the game stunk, but a few. I pointed them out on Monday. Nobody wanted to hear that. I was like, listen, there were a couple of third downs in the first half where he throws the ball into a tight window to Malik Neighbors. They make a first down. Yeah, they lost by 23. Okay, so who cares? But now, 27, but who cares? Well, now you're starting to see, hey, wait, he's starting to build a little bit of confidence. They're starting to, the talent is starting to show out now, because they're starting to get it. Even the special teams, okay, which have been an absolute train wreck, after the first two, starting to get it a little bit. How much faith did you have in Ramos to make the 47-yarder when he lined up? Be honest, okay? Guys, weigh in here. Give me a percentage. When Ramos lines up, now they had third and less than 2 to put the game away. 2 plays, because you're going to go for it on fourth down if it's fourth and less than a yard. How much faith? Then you get back-to-back false starts. How much faith did you have in Ramos to make the kick?
Not too much. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have felt too
Give me
good
a percentage.
Maybe like 40-60 that he would make it.
40%. Taylor?
I'll actually go 60-70, only because it was dead center. That is the only thing that gave me any confidence.
Okay. Yeah, it was properly in the center of the field. I didn't hate the call with the quarterback draw. In fact, that's exactly what I would have called. It's going to keep the ball in the center of the field, probably, for one thing. And then the second thing is that you have you have an outside chance. You're probably not going to pick up the first down, 3rd and 12, but you're not going to turn it over either. You're gonna have a chance for the field goal. I would have put it at no better than 50-50 that he was going to make that, and he drilled it. This is progress, you see. In the opening game 6 weeks ago, seems like a lot longer than that, 7 weeks ago, I guess, against Florida State, they couldn't even make an extra point. They couldn't make a 30-yard field goal that would have won that game. The extra point would have sent it to overtime, give you a chance to win that game. You've gone from that to your kickers drilling 47-yarders to put the game away. You went from Keyshawn Boutte being an afterthought to being your leading receiver. You went from no rushing game outside of the quarterback to Josh Williams running for 106 yards. You went from not being able to beat a so-so Florida State team at a neutral site, which is kind of like a pseudo home game for you, to beating the Florida Gators on the road. And this is not the Steve Spurrier Gators. This is not the Urban Meyer Gators, but it's still the Florida Gators. Utah went in there. They didn't win. And Utah just beat USC. See, this is progress, okay? These are the things I like to see. I told you at the beginning of the year, they win 6 games, they win 7 games, they win 8 games. Really, that's not the biggest deal to me. What are you finding? What can you build on? Well, now you can look at it and say, hey, you took a quarterback that was pretty shaky, and now, halfway through the season, he looks a lot better. He looks like a leader. He looks like somebody who's letting his natural talents take over. You found a left tackle. You found a right tackle, even though those guys, the offensive line, it wasn't their best game, but it was enough. You find a guy like Harold Perkins. Don't take that guy off the field ever. How about Savion Jones? This is one of the nice stories on Saturday. We're watching the game, and it's like, hey, 35. Hang on. Wait a minute. That's Jones. Look at him all over the place. If you find another young player like that, hey, it's starting to be fun. Who else might you find in the next 5 weeks? This is going to be a fun rest of the season. They're not going to win them all. Not going to lose them all. But they're finding things. The word I would give you, the buzzword of the day, I think, for me anyway, is trust. It looks like the players are starting to trust the coaches, and the coaches are starting to trust the players. Why didn't they just do that from the beginning of the season? Because trust takes time. It takes some time. If you're building in the right direction. See, I don't know if the Saints are building in the right direction. I don't know that they're finding anything out. I think they're finding out that they're without a lot of players, and I don't know that there's a ton of that guy's got it. You just kind of it feels like the Saints are having to plug gaps every week just to keep their head above water. LSU doesn't feel like that to me. We were doing a post game, rounding up about 1 in the morning. And Jeremy looks over at me and he says, "Hey, you know what, man? Go beat Ole Miss, and all of a sudden you're in control of your own destiny in the SEC West." And I said, "Wait a minute. He's right. Never occurred to me. The conference race. Have I? You guys have been sitting with me for the last 7 weeks. Have I mentioned the conference race with LSU one time?
No, not really.
Why would I?
Yeah, I mean, last week you were talking about how it was exactly what we expected, like on pace to be 8-4, 7-5.
Yeah, and it probably will still end up like that. We're just a little bit giddy today, all right? But that's progress. That's moving in the right direction. That's feeling like you have the right pieces in place. It's just you're going to have to, keep going in the right direction. But that one felt really good. That one felt fantastic, as a matter of fact, because the things that had derailed LSU before, getting behind, well, they answered this time. Instead of getting in a 7-0 hole and just, pick up the shovel and keep digging and find yourself in a 13, a 17-point hole, a 20-point hole. No, they answered this time. You had a special teams mishap, bummer. Come back, fix it. No more special teams mishaps in the second half. You're doing that, all right? Didn't get Harold Perkins on the field last week. Mistake. Fix it. It's all over the place. Run the football a little bit better. Yes, it's amazing how much better an offensive coordinator is when he's not behind by 3 scores. It's a lot harder to call a game when you're perpetually swimming upstream. I don't know if Mike Denbrock is a great offensive coordinator. I don't know if, long term that this schematic, way to go is what they're doing right now is how it'll end up when they have, some more players in place. But I do know that trying to call plays when you're multiple scores behind is a lot harder. It's tough to have balance. It's tough to be creative. You're constantly, beating your head up against the wall. Didn't have to do that here. You answered every chance. And then when you did get a chance to get the lead, what do I say? Hey, look, man, just go in there. I said in pregame, just don't go throw up on yourself on special teams, and you got a fair fight. You won't be behind from the opening coin toss, which, by the way, did you see LSU got in the second half? I mean, look, some of this stuff ain't hard, no. Heads or tails. I can't describe, 346, X, razor, 2 cut, stop, ghost, whatever. But I can call heads or tails and say, hey, give me the ball second half. How good was that? 6 touchdown drives in a row. It's pretty good. And by the way, I like Tom Petty. I'm a big Tom Petty fan, okay? By the way, when I started listening to Tom Petty, I had no idea it was from Gainesville. That's cool. That's one of the new traditions. It's very hard to make new traditions. Usually people think that they're, it's kind of hokey. The Tom Petty thing is cool. See, I can sing along with Tom Petty and still root for LSU against Florida. That's a really cool thing. I like the thing they do at Iowa where they wave to the patients at the hospital at the end of the first quarter, whatever it is. That's really cool. The Tom Petty thing was cool. The whole day was great. The whole day yesterday was, except for the Saints losing, but it was fun. You tell them in a good mood. Be in a good mood with me. Say it with me, guys. Come on, jeez. This is a good time. This is a good time, and this is going to be a fun week because you got a really big game coming up. Really big game in Tiger Stadium against Ole Miss, and I think LSU's in a fantastic spot. I'm as optimistic as I have been in quite some time. So come along for the ride. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll take a break. We'll come back with a little bit more before we send you to the press conference. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Big Mike's in Denham Springs. Just kind of part of the fabric of Denham Springs. They right in the center of everything here on Aspen Boulevard. You can make your whole weekend, football-wise, around Big Mike's and enjoy the great food and the atmosphere there. Happy hour drink prices all day on Sunday. We'll kind of work it backwards here for the Saints and for the rest of the NFL. Happy hour drink prices all day. On Saturday, a DJ for the LSU game. On Friday night, they keep the restaurant open late. High school football runs late. You can go in and get something to eat. The whole family can go into Big Mike's and enjoy that. They got some great events coming up for Halloween, the big costume contest on October the 29th. Trunk or treat earlier in the week for the kids where you can bring them out in the parking lot. In all of the trunks, there's going to be candy. There's going to be music. There's going to be games. A lot of things that you can do out at Big Mike's. So make it a part of your weekend. It's football and Big Mike's where, hey, we're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 60 months on new 2022 Ford F-150s. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
ITI's got all these programs. Once I started and learned everything about the school, it was worth it.
The challenges that ITI presented me with, it allowed me to build myself up.
All because of ITI, I actually was able to get a job within 3 months before graduation in my field.
Get the hands-on training you need for the job you've always wanted. With so many companies hiring right now, it's the perfect time to come to ITI Technical College. Enroll today for a better life.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Join us for a Monday edition of Hunt and Hill. You know the drill. Recapping Brian Kelly's press conference and a huge football weekend. Bengals, Saints, Gators, Tigers. Football Monday edition of Hunt and Hill. 1 to 3 weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's a catchy tune. Tom Petty's got a lot of good stuff. Pretty cool thing that they do.
Yeah, this is a great song.
It is a good song.
One of the great kind of newer traditions, I think.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I'm fine with that. And look, I've been to Gainesville before a number of times. It's not always the most pleasant trip. The fans there are not always how shall we say this? I'm trying to be nice today. I'm in a good mood.
Decent humans.
Cordial.
Less than hospitable, something like that. So, little humble pie. Okay, is good. You know, these are 2 programs that, in their best years, are the very best in college football. They're not this year. But it was still a great atmosphere. I once had somebody tell me that, and I think this is total hogwash, but that Florida had always fought to keep LSU on the schedule because it was the one game that they could sell out every year. They were guaranteed to have a full house. And I always thought that was crap, because if Auburn would go to Florida, I think that, and Auburn was, ranked and good, I think that they would sell it out. And if Alabama goes to Florida, I think that, they would sell it out. If A&M were ever any good, that they would sell it out. I always thought it was just some BS excuse to keep LSU with the permanent opponent over there. But I do recognize that, look, every time LSU goes there, the place is slammed, and this weekend was no exception. Even though these teams are not at the level that, we're talking about 5 national championships since 2000. So it's not exactly, the banner year for either one. And you still had a great atmosphere and a great game. Not as good in the Superdome yesterday as the Bengals came in and beat the Saints 30-26. Somebody put somebody else on one. Maybe they should guard one. Look, I don't know how you could expect the Saints to guard Chase. I mean, it's not like anybody thought he was any good. The guy came from out of nowhere, right? No. You might want to put 2 people on him. Joe Burrow, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, plus he had 1 on the ground. I guess he just likes that building. He tends to play pretty well there. But it was the Saints in the red zone that killed them yesterday, and they're once again without multiple receivers. I'm beginning to wonder if Michael Thomas is going to play again this season or anytime soon. It just they had Bobby Abe. I'll give Bobby credit for this stat. Michael Thomas, before he signed a contract, had missed 1 game in his Saints career, and since then he's missed 26 or something like that. Not saying they're related or anything like that, just, But the Saints, you could kind of see it coming yesterday, and Saints had the lead. Another field goal, and it's like you're letting that team hang around. You rush for 228 yards in the National Football League, you're supposed to win. I don't have the stat in front of me, but I would imagine that teams that rush for over 225 yards in a game probably win 90% of the time in that league for sure. And the Saints did that yesterday. They didn't throw an interception. They didn't, turn the ball over at all. And yet they found a way to lose. And I could sit here and I could go kind of play by play through this game, but this I'm not going to go and do all of that because there's when you get a 4-point game like this and you kick 4 field goals, you could probably point to 12, 15 plays that if you reverse the outcome of those plays, you reverse the outcome of the game. So I'm not really interested in going through pace by pace of those games, other than to tell you what I think, which is that if Sean Payton were on the sideline yesterday, the Saints win. If Sean Payton were on the sideline in London, the Saints win. If Sean Payton were on the sideline in Carolina, they win. Or I shouldn't say that they win because nothing's a given in the NFL. But I just feel like there is something missing, that there's not this influence on the games from Dennis Allen the way it was with Sean Payton. Maybe that's not fair. They're 6 games into his first season as coach, but and it may change. But right now, I feel like they are a step behind. Maybe it's the injuries. They're playing without their starting quarterback. They're playing without all of their starting wide receivers. Don't know when they're going to get at least one of those wide receivers back. But there's enough there that they should be better than 2-4. And I felt that way about Cincinnati, too. I said, these teams are both coming in with losing records, and neither one of them thought that they would. And both of them have enough talent to be better than what they are. Cincinnati, maybe it's a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover or the gelling of what is almost a completely new offensive line. For the Saints, it's adjusting to a new coaching staff. And so far, it feels like they're just missing something. That ability to call the play at the right time. How many times did Peyton do it? And listen, Dennis Allen is not as good a coach as Sean Payton. He's just not. I wish he was. He's just not. It's not his fault. But I'm concerned, at least 6 games in, is Dennis Allen one of those guys that is a very good lieutenant, but not a very good colonel? And I'm very concerned about that right now because it doesn't seem like the Saints come up with that play. They don't come up with that thing, all right? The Taysom Hill deal last week, okay. But more times than not, the Saints look like they're just a step behind. They're just a step slow. And I don't think it's really as much about the talent level. I think there is better than 2-4 talent in that locker room. Maybe this is the adjustment period. Maybe I'm being a little bit too hard on Dennis Allen. I'm being harder on him than I am on Brian Kelly, because Kelly had the same type of adjustment period that he had to work through, except I don't think that Kelly is on a – if you stack up talent in the NFC, I think the Saints are closer to the top than they are to the bottom. I don't think that they're, in the top 3 or 4, but I think they're in the top half. You look at LSU's talent compared to the rest of the Southeastern Conference, and I think you're probably in the middle. You're maybe a little bit above the mean, but not overwhelmingly so, just because you don't have depth. I think your first 22 probably are fine, but 23 to 44, you probably don't have as much. I don't feel that way about the Saints. I feel like the Saints have more talent than what their record has showed. And I don't know. We'll have our Saints guys on later in the week, and we'll talk about it's a short week. They got to go to Arizona. Arizona looked like garbage yesterday. Seattle really took it to them, so it's a winnable game. But right now, the Saints look like they are missing something. I wish I could put my finger on it and say, "Hey, make this move. You're playing the wrong guy here. You're calling the wrong." I don't think any of those things. I think that just something is missing, and I can't quite put my finger on it. So usually when you can't, when it's not obvious, it's usually on the coach. That's just me. So the Saints at 2-4 on a short week to Arizona. Bengals come away at 3-3. We didn't see, I don't think, at least I could not, from what I could tell on television, the massive influx of Bengal fans that was being feared. Right? Burrow's parents did something really cool. They wore Burrow jerseys, Bengals Burrow jerseys, with the spelling on the back, the EAUX spelling on the back. Burrow wore Chase's LSU jersey into the building. He signed autographs before the game, which he never does. And most players don't. But before an NFL game, won't sign an autograph. He went over and he said, "Hey, listen, man. Louisiana's a part of who I am. A big part of my life happened here, and I don't want to forget that." It was kind of a love fest. After the game, it's like, well, if you got to lose to anybody, lose to that guy. Okay. But the Saints are in a little bit of trouble. They're in a little piece of trouble, and it's discouraging because I think the talent level is better, and it's also discouraging because you don't have a first-round pick. And if you do have to go get a quarterback, is Hendon Hooker going to be there when the Saints pick in the second round? I don't know. Before this season, I would have said absolutely. Now, not so sure. Send you to the press conference here in about 10 minutes. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. At the Acura line, they've done so many improvements just in the last few years. The Integra is back. The 2023 Integra comes with a new body style, new color combinations. The MDX Type S and the Type S Advanced, turbocharged V6, massaging seats, all new body styles on the MDX starting in 2022. They redesigned the TLX in 2021. The RDX was refreshed in 2022. So now with the 2023 Integra, the remodel is complete. Check it out. Family owned and operated. They're always going to treat you well. Transparency and pricing at Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Professional golfers John Peterson and JJ Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com.
I am Juliet, daughter of Marguerite, granddaughter of Gabriel Piera. I come from a line of strong women who knew struggle and success too. Still, I was scared by my breast cancer diagnosis. But I had Blue Cross coverage, which meant I got care from top doctors. I'm strong like my mother, and her mother before her. The right card, the right care.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Order curbside pickup online or with Rouse's Market Shopping app and let Rouse's personal shopper shop for you. Curbside pickup is free and you pay the same price for groceries as in-store. Use code SAINTS20 and save $20 on orders of $100 or more. That's curbside convenience. Shopper style.
Oh, yeah! Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play. with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap LSU's trip to the Swamp, the Saints and Bengals. We'll hear from Brian Kelly. Cole Kubelik will join us. It's all Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A few minutes before we sing you to the Brian Kelly press conference. A few things out of the chat about Michael Thomas. He did have the one big year. His monster year was after he had signed a contract. He signed a contract in the summer of 19, and then had that monster year. So I'm not saying that the guy didn't play after he signed a contract. He did for 1 year. I'm not suggesting that Thomas is dogging it, just that he has regressed as a player because his body is broken down. For 3 years now, it's been something. And I don't, sometimes it happens, you get, your body at some point is no longer capable of doing the things that it once was. Is that going to be the case for Thomas the rest of his career? I don't know, but he's only 29 years old, but that's what it looks like right now, is his body is no longer responding in the way that it once was. His attitude or whatever, I'm not in the locker room. I can't tell you any of that stuff. He certainly looked like he wanted to come back, and in the first game of the season, it looked like he was. My concern with Thomas is more that the mind may be willing, but the body isn't anymore. For those that are suggesting that the Saints should trade him, he has no trade value, zero. It's not that he is a zero as a player. It's that when you combine the injury with the contract that you're asked to take on, whoever took him on would have to eat the last year of that contract, and nobody's going to do that. So you couldn't even trade Michael Thomas right now for a 7th-round pick. You couldn't give him away because he's not healthy and he's got a massive contract. It was like trying to trade Gilbert Arenas, okay? The body's not there anymore, but the contract still is. So you can't trade him. He is untradeable at this point, in my opinion, unless, I guess you could call the Jets. The Jets do stupid things, but ordinarily, you in a normal situation with a normal Thomas has no trade value. Now, Sean Payton, if this could solve the Saints' first-round pick problems if Payton decides to coach somewhere next year. I know this about Sean Payton. He's not going anywhere where he doesn't have a quarterback or access to a quarterback. So, he's not taking the Carolina Panther job. And if whoever signs him doesn't have a quarterback in place, then they better have a first-round pick to go get one, and they better be in position to draft a guy that Sean Payton really likes. I don't know what Sean Payton thinks of the quarterback crop for coming out this year. He may be a huge fan of C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. I don't know. But the team that brings Sean Payton in is going to have a quarterback. There's just no – if the Chargers fire their guy, which they should – then yeah, man, he's on the first thing smoking to Los Angeles because he's got a quarterback there. But if a team has to draft a quarterback for Sean Payton to get there, then they're not going to give the Saints that first-round pick. Otherwise, they don't get the coach. You see the conundrum? I did a podcast when Payton retired that if he came back, he'd be worth 2 1s and a 2. I don't think that they're going to get quite that haul. I think you're going to get 1 1 and probably another draft pick. And personally, I think Sean Payton is worth 2 1s. But I don't know that the Saints are going to be able to get that. And further complicated, no team's going to give the Saints a pick if it's in the top, 10 or so. I wouldn't think. Maybe if they had a quarterback and a high pick, they might do it, but probably not. We'll be on the other side of the press conference and walk you up to Hunt and Hill. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The following is an exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network. Welcome in to the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Download the ASAP app today. Coming up, head coach Brian Kelly discusses the week ahead for LSU Fighting Tiger football. But first, from inside the Capital One LSU Sports Radio Network studios, here are former Tiger Gordy Rush and the voice of your Fighting Tigers, Chris Blair.
Good Monday morning. Welcome in to the Brian Kelly Press Conference. And boy, right out of the gate, just got to celebrate a little bit. LSU goes to Gainesville. Fourth time in a row, they've handed the Florida Gators a loss. So we got a lot to talk about. We're going to turn our focus to later on this week with a big matchup at Tiger Stadium. But we've got time for that before we get you up to 12 noon. And head coach Brian Kelly in this week's press conference, Gordy Rush, we just got to celebrate. I mean, I was excited. Always great to leave Gainesville with a win. I've got a pretty good record there, which I'm very proud of. And
I know you do.
And happy to tell everybody, especially Florida Gator fans. But, again, in all seriousness, a great win for Coach Kelly and these Tigers. Just a great performance. I think a lot of things we can talk about. The numbers, I'm sure Coach Kelly will as well. It's just a great team performance. I told Doug Morrow at the end of the game, not every phase of the game was clean. Not every phase of the game was perfect. But it was really a solid team win in a tough environment where you knew Florida – I know it's a first-year coach and Billy Napier, but he's heard it. They've lost 3 in a row to LSU. Florida's starting to lose that home field advantage against the Tigers, who have had a lot of success in Gainesville. So they wanted to win this game, and LSU just didn't allow it. And for that, I applaud Coach Kelly and the Tigers. Way to go. How about them Tigers?
Absolutely. How about them Tigers? How about that LSU offense? To me, that's certainly one of the storylines. This offense that struggled the last 2 weeks against Auburn and Tennessee to get going. All of a sudden, they were clicking on all cylinders. And finally, this outstanding core of receivers and quarterback Jaden Daniels, they were on the same page. The Tiger passing game was fantastic, and it opened up the whole offense.
Absolutely. I mean, Jaden Daniels, without question, his best performance as a Tiger, really had good command of the offense. His offensive line, I think their best performance, albeit the 6 combination through 7 games. But it was great to have Will Campbell back, who was named co-offensive lineman of the week by the SEC just a little earlier today. And it looked like he had time to throw and was more comfortable going through the progressions and letting the routes develop and then delivering the football. This stands out to me, Gordy. We can talk about the overall numbers, which, again, were impressive. 349 yards passing on Saturday night. There were 4 receptions for LSU against the Gators of 20 yards or more. Now, against Tennessee, the results weren't the same, but Coach Kelly said, I want to take a few more shots. We've got to be more aggressive. He had 4 passes for 20 yards or more. You look at the Auburn game, 1. Mm-hmm. Mississippi State, both good wins, also just 1. So, again, inside that little sample size, the progression over the last 4 weeks is what Coach Kelly and this offense has asked for, and Jaden Daniels delivered, and for that, he should be applauded. An excellent game. And, oh, by the way, he happened to finish that game with 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing. Only one other guy's done that, and his name's Joe Burrow.
Absolutely. Look, LSU came out and they threw the football to set up the run. And that was the beautiful thing about getting Jenkins and Thomas Jr. Down the sideline, getting them extended. And when you beat the defensive backs like that a little bit, then the defensive coordinator's got to change up, back up, and respect the pass. And that opens up the running game. He's got to take numbers out of the box to play against the pass. And, hey, a lot of people, except Coach Kelly, did give him a game ball, but not talking about Josh Williams, 14 carries, 106 yards, 7.6
amazing
per carry. That's fantastic.
Yeah, had the big 50-yard run, which good for him. I mean, you could see. I mean, the guy is an SEC all Scholastic. I mean, he's on the dean's list. He does everything right. Former Walker. He's just a great story. And to see him kind of develop over the last several years and get those opportunities. He talked to Patrick Wright on the radio down in the locker room and said the biggest thing about having the opportunities to carry the ball 14 times tonight is that my coaching staff trust me. They have confidence in me. And you can tell. And Coach Kelly talks about it all the time. Confidence breeds success. And they had the confidence in Josh Williams, who certainly delivered last night. Want to flip and talk about the defense a little bit because obviously, as I said, special teams were not perfect once again. There was a costly penalty. Obviously, there was another costly mishandle on a punt. But you did have the Damian Ramos 47-yarder, which I think was so huge, kind of put the game on ice for the most part, gave you some insurance points late in that game. But defensively, they got put on their heels a little early. Obviously, the 47-yard kick return to start the game. Then the 51-yard pass for a touchdown for Florida, 2 plays into the game. And suddenly you're reeling a little bit. Your thoughts on the defense as the game wore on against a guy who we know in Richardson who can make plays if you let him.
I thought Matt House called an excellent game, and as the game went on, he adjusted, and some of the big things that he did, he was able to keep Richardson in the pocket and contain him. And we talked about that on the broadcast. You don't want your defensive line taking shots and going after him. If they do that, it opens up a natural crease if you get too vertical up the field. It's more of what they call a cage rush or just a contained rush. And if he gets outside the pocket, I thought there was one situation where Ali Gay did a great job of facing him man-to-man like a basketball player would, guarding him and keeping him in front of him and making him throw the football. Richardson's a tremendous athlete. He's a little inaccurate as a passer, 15 of 25, and we saw a couple high fastballs at some, that were away from receivers that really were able to get LSU off the football field. I thought the adjustments were excellent, and then in the fourth quarter, when Richardson had to make plays and they had to score points, they put Harold Perkins Jr. as a spy right over Richardson. And again, we talked about it in the broadcast. That was fun to see. You had 2 incredible athletes basically playing, it's 10 on 10, and they're playing man-to-man against each other. And Perkins did a great job defending Richardson.
Yeah, Micah Baskerville also, again, led the team with 11 tackles, had a well of a game, made a great deflection where he was not in position. He wasn't covering. He was just on that side of the field and was able to go up and deflect that pass. Harold Perkins Jr., I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch him now, but it's going to be a lot of fun as this guy, I don't know how high the ceiling is going to be, but it's going to be fun to watch him get there.
I mean, you think about the great linebackers that LSU's had here that can run. Queen, Debo Jones, Devin White. I mean, he reminds you of those guys. He moves so fast. Got to be a 4.4 guy.
You mentioned the way LSU went after Richardson, again, not necessarily trying to give up a lane and just try to keep him in the pocket. Coach Kelly said on Thursday last week, in fact, he said it last Monday, that this Florida offensive line would be one of the better ones we faced this year. And I thought the defensive front, wreaked a lot of havoc that affected what Richardson was able to do.
Yeah, especially after the first 2 series. And I think Florida came out sky high, and they played really well, and they were feeding off that adrenaline of playing at home. And then after the LSU answered the second score, LSU's defense settled down. And I thought those guys up front, Roy and Wingo and Gay, and then Savion Jones, when he came in to spell Gay, I thought they played fantastic and a great job defending the Florida run. And we talked about it last week on this show. Florida had 3 ball carriers, including Richardson, the quarterback, that averaged over 6 yards a carry. And I think they were at 3-point-something, if I remember the total average. Excuse me, you take out Richardson, of course, with the big one, they kept them around 4 yards on the running backs. And that's really a job well done. Richardson had the big run that kind of threw everything off. But for the longest time, they had him about 4 yards rushing.
One of the things that stood out, again, in the 45-35 victory was the efficiency of the offense and the utilization by Jaden Daniels for all of the weapons. We talked about the running game. We talked about when he ran the football, rushing for 3 touchdowns. Getting everybody involved offensively out on the corner and down the field. LSU was 67% on third down, which is huge. When you get that or higher on the road, chances are you're going to win that football game. Not only were they able to convert on third down, Gordy, but this number stands out. Patrick Wright, kudos to him. He gave it to us during the broadcast. They had 8 third down conversions, 165 yards on those plays. That's just under 21 yards per play on third down.
Story of the game right there. I mean, that's unbelievable. And Coach Napier talked about that in his post-game press conference. They did a bad job on third down. That'll win you a lot of football games. Look, for me, the offense was crisp, and the crispest it's been all season. And Daniels' recognition was excellent. Coach Kelly's talked about on these press conferences, trying to get him to see consistently what they're seeing. And I'll take you through the whole zone read package. So many times he did a great job on the zone read of reading the defensive end. If he comes down the line of scrimmage, you pull the ball out and you ran. And you saw how many times Daniels was able to do that. And then there were times they would read him, and they'd read, as a part of that progression, you read the linebacker. If he plays run, then you throw the slant. How many slants did we see him hit? Neighbors in Butte. That was, again, as crisp as LSU's been offensively, and I thought Daniels did a great job in recognition.
One of the things it looked like from where we were, you had a better vantage point on the field. It looked like, again, giving credit to the offensive line, that even though Florida, for the most part, threw a couple of blitz, for the most part on the night, 4-man rush, that the line was holding. It wasn't such a surge that got the pocket tight early.
That's correct.
And I think that allowed Jaden to settle down a little bit and be able to find the open man, and as I said, allow the routes to progress. The last thing I wanted to talk about, highlight this receiving core again, making plays in the passing game. But when the Tigers got loose on the ground, watching those guys block downfield, it was really great to see. The touchdown that Jaden had where he went left, I think a 9-yard score, cut back across the field, got in the right corner. Jeray Jenkins takes the guy completely out of the play. That leaves a one-on-one matchup for Daniels, which he wins. Otherwise, there's 2 Gator defenders down there.
And look, I think we've talked, it's been said in the last couple of weeks, as a receiver, you get frustrated you're not catching the football. And there was some frustration out there, and it's a new offense, new coordinator, new quarterback, all of that. That wasn't the case against Florida, and I think that's why I started getting a little bullish on the Tigers.
Yes.
Because these are the leaders of your football team. When 7 starts going, Butte gets going, everybody feels it. When Neighbors gets going and Jenkins and the stuff that he's done, those guys start making plays. It affects the whole team, and that's that's what happened. It all kind of steamrolled for LSU.
The other great thing about the game, it was all smiles in the press box, I can assure you, on our radio team winning in Gainesville. But watching those sidelines, really, from start to finish, and it wasn't a perfect start to the game, it looked like the Tigers were having fun.
Yes.
And that was everybody on the field and on the sideline. So, again, great win for the Tigers. Always good to beat Florida, 45-35, the final in Gainesville. The Tigers now make it 4 in a row, and they put up more offensive numbers yard-wise than they have against any Florida team in the history of that rivalry. And, by the way, it's now even, 33-33-3.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that? All right, coming up, we'll go to Coach Brian Kelly. He's going to talk about the Florida game, but, Gordy, he's obviously going to then turn quickly to the big matchup this weekend. Ole Miss comes to town, undefeated on the year, 2:30 kickoff. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll kind of get Gordy's thoughts on the Rebels. It's the Brian Kelly press conference. A reminder, fans, you make sure you download the ASAP app. Get all of your game day needs delivered right to your door. Easy as that. ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. We talk LSU Ole Miss right after this when we come back.
Albertsons is making shopping and saving easier than ever. Check out Albertsons For You in our mobile app, where you can shop for groceries and save weekly with digital coupons all in one place. With Albertsons For You, you can earn rewards points every time you shop and redeem them for free groceries. Brand new Albertsons For You members receive $5 off their next $25 purchase just for signing up. Download the Albertsons app or go to albertsons.com to sign up. Albertsons, fresh food, local flavors.
Support your LSU Tigers with Hancock Whitney, the official bank of LSU Athletics. From game day to the offseason, Hancock Whitney LSU credit and debit cards are a big win for any Tiger fan. Want to get your paws on these cards? Well, apply online or visit HancockWhitney.com/LSU. Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC. All accounts subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions may apply.
Yo, Jake and T-Bob here. We've been talking about the All-Star Toyota rentals for a while, so during vacation season, we wanted to remind you about them.
That's right. All-Star Toyota has daily, weekly, and monthly rentals with flexible plans and competitive rates that blow the other places out of the water. In fact, you can rent a new Toyota for as little as $60 a day. These rentals are perfect for out-of-town trips, for business, or pleasure.
All-Star Toyota located on Airline at Goodwood. Check out their website at allstartoyotaofbatonrouge.com/rental. People you know, cars you trust. All-Star Toyota.
Roadside litter is more than an eyesore. It's a safety hazard, environmental issue, and possible health threat. Roadside trash often ends up clogging storm drains and sewer systems, increasing the risk of flooding. Keep a trash bag in your vehicle. Check the bed of your truck for trash and debris that could fly out. Properly bag and tie your trash before placing it in the bin. Above all, don't litter. Together, we can all brighten up Baton Rouge. For more information, visit www.brightenupbatonrouge.com. This is a message from the Mayor's Litter Task Force and brightenupbatonrouge.com.
Coach Kelly is just moments away from previewing the week for the Fighting Tigers. This is the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Once again, here are Gordy and Chris.
This Saturday, rivalry renewed. Ole Miss comes to Tiger Stadium to take on your Fighting Tigers. Rebels roll in 7-0, 3-0 in SEC play. Got the win over Auburn this past Saturday, but it was, I don't know that it was an easy win. 48-34, they pulled away, had a little weather delay there in the fourth quarter. Eventually, Lane Kiffin and company get the win. But it was an interesting game to watch, Gordy. I know you watched it. I watched it. The story going into the week last Saturday was, all right, Ole Miss still trying to find themselves offensively. It's not what you think of with a Lane Kiffin offense, simply because I don't think Dart has lived up to the type of quarterback that we've seen in the past. But they're a running team, and they run very well, and they use everybody that's eligible to run the football. They're involved in the run game for Ole Miss. But defensively, that was the story. That Lane Kiffin's got him a defense now, which makes him difficult. And that is true. But Auburn found some holes.
They sure did.
And they looked a little porous on Saturday.
Yeah, they sure did. Tank Bigsby broke off a couple big runs there, and Auburn was able to get back in the football game, make it interesting. It was 28-24 right before halftime. Look, DJ Durkin was a fine defensive coordinator and really had Ole Miss's defense playing better, and he left to go to Texas A&M, so new on that side of the football. And also so many new faces. I mean, a lot of people don't realize Ole Miss had 17 transfers come in via the portal route, including both linebackers, a TCU transfer, and Kari Coleman and Troy Brown from Central Michigan. So I think a lot like the offense, Chris, you have a lot of new faces trying to put it all together. They are 7-0. The schedule hasn't necessarily been the toughest. Probably the most impressive win was a win, I believe, 22-19 over Kentucky, in which Kentucky
refused to win it.
Right, was their own worst enemy with, I believe, 3 turnovers, a missed field goal, 2 missed PATs. Just an awful afternoon for Kentucky there. So this Ole Miss team, obviously good. Kiffin is a fantastic coach. They're 7-0, but they're not gelling quite the way this team did last year that went to the Sugar Bowl.
You know, Coach Brian Kelly was on this morning on SEC this morning with Peter Burns and Chris Doring, or I should say Chuckles the Clown.
Chuckles the Clown. I saw him.
And one of the interesting things that Coach Kelly talked about, obviously a lot of respect for Lane Kiffin. He said, hey, look, this is a coach who not only is going to put his offense and his touch around the players and personnel he has based on who can perform, but also he is just a stereotypical, we will take what the defense gives you. And if you give them you want to play coverage, you want to back off, then they're gonna run the football, and they've ran it effectively. But if you then decide, all right, let's put 8 in the box,
right,
let's stop the run, then you got to worry about the passing game. The question becomes Jackson Dart. From what you've seen, again, what are his strengths and maybe what are his weaknesses? He's got 11 passing touchdowns, but 6 INTs.
Yeah, right. He's made some mistakes, no question about it. He was a nice 4-star recruit out of the state of Utah. He was a dual threat guy. Didn't work out for him at USC. He came over there, and again, he's gelling with new people. You've got Malik Heath, that's one of their wide receivers, came from MSU. Trigg followed him. Michael Trigg's the tight end. He's from USC. And Mingo, probably their best receiver, was there on the roster. So 3 new faces. faces. Look, Ole Miss has been successful because they've been able to run the football. And again, similar to last week against Florida, I think that's going to be a big key for LSU defensively.
Again, taking nothing away from Ole Miss. They're 7-0, 3-0 in the SEC. They're a top 10 team as we stand here going into this matchup. But obviously the questions come up about who they've played. They got a win over Troy, Central Arkansas, Georgia Tech, who was not the Georgia Tech we see now.
No.
It was Jeff Collins' Georgia Tech that they played week 3 of the season. Tulsa, again, Kentucky had every chance to win that game, but they got the win over the Wildcats. Beat Vanderbilt 52-28, and then, as we said, really had to outscore Auburn on Saturday 48-34. I know it's easy to sit here as the opposing team and say, well, they haven't played anybody, but we'll see on Saturday.
Yeah, step up in competition for the Rebels.
All right, let's go now to the Lawton room, and here he is, head coach Brian Kelly. See you, Gordy, on Saturday.
See ya.
Certainly great atmosphere at the Swamp. Our guys needed to think about the right things going into that game. I thought that they were confident. I thought they thought about how to win the game. I thought that they maintained that throughout the game, even though there was some adversity. I thought they kept their emotions in check. I think those are really important. I think I talked about those last week. When you go on the road, you have to eliminate distractions, and from all the things that go on in pregame, during the game. There's a lot of distractions. I thought they did a very good job. I think the sideline was excellent. Guys really being positive with each other during the game. Those all go to, getting through the highs and lows of a game when you're on the road and the crowd's involved in it. So proud of our football team and the way they managed themselves and handled themselves in that situation. And then, offensively, we executed very well. Defensively, we came up with some stops when we needed them. Clearly on the offensive side of the ball, we've got to eliminate some mistakes up front. We've got to be cleaner. And I think defensively, it's pretty clear it's the big play, eliminating the big plays. But again, execution-wise, our best performance offensively, and then we'll look to build on that in terms of consistency of performance, and then defensively, cleaning up the big plays. I think that's it. And special teams, I think we'll all see the same thing. First play of the game, we let the ball outside the defense. We've got to contain it on a kickoff, and then we muff a punt. So those guys know they have to obviously be accountable, and we've got to put them in a position to succeed. We'll keep coaching it, and we know we've got to get better there. So move on to Ole Miss. Obviously another top 10 team coming into the stadium. And we're excited about the challenge. It's an outstanding football team, well coached. Lane does a great job with obviously the offense, but overall a very confident football team. Been playing well, undefeated. It's an offense that is systematic in its play calling, what they're trying to do. The pieces fall together quite nicely. And very talented. The quarterback, is a true double threat quarterback. Dart can throw it. He can run. He's complemented with two outstanding backs, big receivers, and a very, very balanced attack. They can run it equally as well as they throw it, and so I have a lot of respect for what they do defensively. They're in, a 3-down defense. We don't see a ton of what they do. They do what they do well, and I think they get pressures. I think they're second in the SEC in sacks. So difficult sometimes to know where they're coming from. We'll have to do a really good job with protections, scanning, and taking care of our quarterback. So excited to be at home. I know our guys want to obviously play well at home before our home fans, and again, look forward to another challenge for an SEC top 10 team. So with that, we'll open up the questions.
Hey, Brian. I'm going to start on a lighthearted note. Saw you on the SEC Network this morning. Could you see Chris Doering? How did you keep a straight face through?
I could see him. Yeah. Yeah, I just.
Did you know that was coming?
I had no idea. No, I didn't know that he was going to dress like a clown. But I think if you keep betting, you get what you deserve there. Because I think he's 0 for 4. In that situation, I think Pete should just up the ante, at this point, and make sure that there's no dress that he comes out in next time. And then there won't be any more betting.
Not every coach probably would have played along. I mean, but you seem like you're someone who's like, hey, look, this is a hard business, and you have to make a lot of sacrifices. You can enjoy yourself once in a while. I mean, is that kind of the attitude you like to have?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many rivalries, right, in this conference between, this is another rivalry game, the Magnolia Trophy. Come on now. You get me the first time, right? You're not going to get me a second time. But, there's just so many different rivalries, and, those two obviously have them. We saw Marcus Spears had a friendly bet with somebody. I was made aware of that. So, it's just, there's such passion in college football, and especially down here in the SEC. I love watching that, and so it just makes sense to allow them to continue to have those kinds of inside bets, and I can play along for a few minutes.
Yeah, Brian, you coached against Lane Kiffin, obviously, when he was at SC. You were at Notre Dame. It's been 10 years. But
yeah.
What's it like to coach against him? How much maybe has he changed from then to now?
Well, he's a creative coach offensively, and they always have been cutting edge in terms of what they do. And he's a guy that gets his team playing hard. I mean, they play hard. Offensively, there's always an answer to what you do in game as well. But I think more importantly, they scout you out. I mean, you better know your own self-scouting and where your tendencies are, because he's going to really dial in on if there's anything that you do. If you do anything defensively, he is going to analyze that and have an answer for it. So you got to be very good at your self-scout.
Hey, Coach, this past game you fall behind 7-0. You've got a 3rd and long, and Daniels makes that deep throw to Booty. Are you a believer in a play like that when you make it early on? Does a lot for your confidence in terms of, moving forward? If you don't make that play, maybe you don't have the success that you had?
Yeah, look, we've been at this, this had been the 7th game, and we have been confronted with those situations and haven't made them. But I don't think that there was any hesitation that we wouldn't go back to it, because those two have been working hard in practice and trying to build that, that relationship where, we find you. And if you remember in that situation, he kind of found some green grass, and he was going to be the primary on that play, and Jaden got flushed out of the pocket, but he kept his eyes looking for him, and it was really the first time when those two found each other, if you will, in terms of getting the ball, and then that drive, quite frankly, we had a lot of mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes. That drive ended up in the end zone because of those two guys. They made big plays, and that's what sometimes you need, is your big-time players have to step up, and I think that was the first time this year that our best players stepped up to that level and made plays.
Just after the film review, I guess that's kind of my question. Do you feel like that was a step up for the entire team offensively, or was it just the next step?
Yeah, I think it's got to be part of what we continue to grow towards. There's going to be times where guys just got to step up and make plays, and we had been kind of grinding it out, like, we were trying to fight for every blade of grass, and sometimes you just got to make some plays. The big touchdown throw to Jeray Jenkins. They jump offside. That's part of our offense. Take a shot down the field. Maybe early in the year we throw that out of bounds. So just staying at it and being consistent with coaching it, and then telling our guys that, look, sooner or later we got to step up and make these plays, and they did on Saturday. And now we've got to be consistent at it. You can't do it one week and then turn it off the next week and expect to win.
Yeah, hey, Coach, right over here. Second top 10 team you guys welcome here in 2 weeks. Just what lessons can you take away from maybe the last time you played a top 10 team here, and just whether it's in preparation, whether it's in focus, mentality, just what kind of lessons can you take away from that last one?
Well, each week this team is learning so much and growing. Unfortunately, they learned from the Tennessee loss, and nobody really wants to be learning lessons after a loss, but they learned a lot about intentionality and purpose in terms of their preparation, and we saw that during the week, and it carried over to the way they played on the road. I think then you win on the road in the fashion that they did, you build more confidence in your football team. So I think 2 weeks later, it's, I don't want to say a different team, but it's a team that has confidence. It's a team that knows that if they don't play clean, if they don't have an attention to detail, they'll have similar results that they did against Tennessee. So I guess what I'm saying is that it's not a different team, but it's a team that has grown from the last couple of weeks. And if they take that knowledge into their preparation this week and into the game and their performance, then we should have one really fine football team.
Hey, Coach, over here to your left. Can you talk about, what you saw from the DB room this past weekend and just how much they progressed in SEC play?
I thought, there were some good things, things that we got to continue to work on. Obviously, big plays, we got to tackle better. I think it starts there. Obviously we gave up a big play early on, right out of the gates. We got to stay on top of the coverage there. So it's kind of a mixed bag right now. I'd like to stand up here and tell you that everything's great, and we're ready to, enshrine them all into the College Football Hall of Fame, but that's just not the case. I mean, it's work in progress, and we got to continue to get better at both, the corner and safety and nickel position. But I think it starts with the fundamentals, leverage, staying on top of the football, and tackling, quite frankly. This is, I don't want to make it simple, but it's not that hard. We've got to get better in the fundamentals. If we get better in the fundamentals, we'll be better on the back end of our defense.
Brian, over here. Will Campbell received SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week.
Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
When was the last time you remember in your career playing two freshman offensive tackles on the line, and why don't true freshmen typically play in this position?
I don't think I ever have, but I'm having a hard time, with last week in memory. So 32 years, 33 years. I don't believe I've ever started two freshmen, period, on an offensive line, but to have two tackles in the SEC is quite unusual. Again, I think I talked about this last week. It's not necessarily the physical. Although they have the physical, because you cannot play in this league unless you have physical traits. These guys are too fast, they're too big, they're too strong. They'll walk you back to the quarterback if you're not physically strong enough. And Emory Jones and Will Campbell physically have the traits to go in the weight room and be as strong as anybody that we have, and are able to move their feet to obviously get out and set these guys. They're going to miss a couple, right? We got beat inside on a couple of times that they countered, moved us. But these guys are extraordinary in their ability to move on to the next play. They focus and then refocus. So their mental approach to the game is so far above any freshman that I'm used to having. They generally have that look in their eyes right about now that they're done. These guys are anxious for more, and that's unusual.
Brian, that Ole Miss runs that kind of Baylor offensive scheme, the old Baylor.
There's a lot of similarities.
I guess because they have so much success in the run game, what does that kind of scheme do that makes stopping the run so difficult?
Well, it's perimeter based. The ball's trying to get out on the perimeter, but you now have a quarterback that if you're spreading yourself thin on the perimeter, he strikes down the heart of your defense. So, and then they've got a great play action game, and Mingo's 6'3", 6'4", 225 pounds. He's a matchup nightmare. So, when your safeties are dropping down, you're trying to load the box, you're trying to defend the perimeter. Now they've got one-on-one matchups that they can throw the football. So, Auburn was trying to stop the passing game, and then they were a little soft to the run game. They run for 400 yards. You cannot win games giving up 400 yards rushing. So. Well, you can, but you're playing the game, up and down the field. So it's it's an offense that has been set up, obviously to, force the ball outside, but they have a quarterback now that can run it so effectively as well. They threw the ball last year because they had a great quarterback in Corral. This is a different quarterback, and so that's what Lane does well. He's going to set his offense based upon who the player is. It's not about plays, it's about players for him, and he changes based upon who he has, and he's got a quarterback that is a real dual threat.
Coach, the Ole Miss's running game has gotten a lot of the credit this year. Obviously ran for over 400 yards last week. But what have you seen out of Jackson Dart in that passing game for what you've seen so far?
Well, he's a pure, if he was in a different, and I've played against him, in a pure passing spread offense. He's a beautiful thrower of the football. He is. California, throw the football. He has all those traits. But he's also athletic enough and can run that they've put him now in a system where he becomes a dual threat. So, we've played Hooker. We've played Richardson. We're going to play Jefferson. These are big-bodied, thick, physical quarterbacks, right, that are not, look, they're all really good quarterbacks that can throw, but they don't throw like this kid. This kid has the ability to drop back, 50 times if they wanted to, and throw the football.
Hey, Coach, about Josh Williams, he's just an incredible story, a former walk-on, and in a performance where Jaden Daniels had 6 touchdowns, he had 6 straight offensive touchdowns on the first 6 possessions. Why was it important to give the game ball to Josh Williams for his play on Saturday night?
So the theme all week was attention to detail, and so his attention to the smallest of details in that game helped us win, and I wanted to make sure that kind of was followed up, with the game ball. We asked our back to chip a lot, off those defensive ends to help those young tackles that we just talked about. And, he's not 6'2". So when you talk about him having the chip, he's got to leave his feet to chip. But he was outstanding at it. He stopped the charge of defensive ends, caught the ball coming out of the backfield, picked up blitzers, actually picked up the defensive end by himself a couple of times when we missed the slide, ran the ball coming out in the third quarter with authority that gave us great momentum. Just a little bit of everything. All the little jobs that you ask him to do, he does them, and sometimes he does them for the first time. That's over 100 yards for the first time for him. So we wanted to reward him in kind.
Brian, just real quick, Jack Besh and Armani Goodwin, what's their status this week?
Jack is, he's day-to-day. He's got the same back situation, which is an L5. It's cranky. Hopefully we can get him up and going. He's a tough guy. Hopefully we can get him loose enough where he can play. And Armani, we're going to practice him on Tuesday and see what we can get. He wants to play, and our doctors have cleared him. We'll see what kind of volume we can get out of him, and hopefully it goes well during the week.
And then When you talk about just like the chunk plays on defense and giving those up, how do you go about cleaning that up? Is it as simple as tackling? Like
Well, you
said?
saw it, right? I mean, we tried to punch the ball loose twice on Richardson. You got to tackle him. I mean, that's a commitment. You got to go and wrap him up and bring him down on the ground. And, so that was tackling. We gave up the big play pass where we just need to stay on top, and, we did not. We gave up run after the catch, and again, that was a tackling situation. So we just have to be better at tackling. I think if we start there and really focus on just doing our job, we're going to be much better at the defensive end.
I guess I haven't watched in detail every game of how you've been on the sidelines, but it looked like you kind of had like a little cheat sheet or note set with you when you were going through the game. I just was wondering kind of what went into that.
Situational football, mostly situational calls. Mike called a great game, I thought. I'm just looking at situational calls and just reminding the quarterback, talking to Mike, talking to Matt, mostly on situational calls.
Coach, down here, a couple of things. Do you mention to the team at all potentially tying for the West lead this week? And also the Brian Thomas catch that was overturned. Have you gotten a sufficient explanation for that?
No, we won't talk about tying for the West. I think it's too early to talk in terms of that. I think there's just too much football left to be played. What we're going to talk about is how we play better at home in front of our fans against the top 10 team. I mean, our focus will be on ourselves more so than what that means. Then we get a week off to kind of assess, and then we'll kind of put the next 4 weeks kind of in perspective, and maybe we'll start to talk about it from that sense. I have not. There were some things that happened in that game that just, my biggest concern is that we're just slowing the game down. We're already. Look, we got to pay the bills. I get it. It's 4-3, 4-3 with timeouts. That's not going away, or we're going to be, obviously not paying anybody anything. So, but to stop the game for so many reviews and most of them to be the play stands as called. It just takes away the flow of the game. And hopefully it's something that we can look at the end of the season. Maybe it can be instant replay on scoring plays only or change of possession. And then if you feel like that it's egregious, throw your red flag out there. But it just seems like we're slowing the game down. But that'll be a topic that we can have after the season ends.
Hey, Brian. This is a little layered, but can you explain how you all go through the play call operation? Does Mike have complete autonomy? How involved are you, and were you more involved Saturday than you had been prior?
Mike calls all the good plays, and I call all the great plays. So it comes down from Mike, and Cortez obviously has got him on the sideline, but they're going through our signalers, so I'm hearing them, and I'm just making look. There's a couple of voices. One, obviously is enough. You can't have 3 or 4 voices when you're getting the play and you're getting into a flow. The one thing, and I've been a play caller, you can't get a million suggestions going. You've got to let a play caller go. And for me, I'm reminding him on whether we're going for it on 4th down and what we need to go for it on 4th down, how many yards. Hey, we're going for it on 4th and 3 here, so you can run it twice. I'll give him suggestions like that during the series. And other than that, kind of allow him to keep in the flow of the game. I'm reminding him of time and timeouts and really time management issues more than anything else. Other than that, play calling it's an art and a science, but you can't get in the way of the art of it.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask you a couple about your specialists there. Ramos, I know he's only tried 6 field goals all year, but that seemed to be a pretty big kick for him, moving forward, a pressure-packed spot. And then Bramlett, I see, is averaging almost 46 yards per punt. So if you could maybe just your thoughts on those two guys.
Yeah, I think thanks for asking the question. Damian Ramos, let's put him in that situation, right? I mean, it's loud. That's a big kick, right? That ices the game, and he nails it. Snap was great. The hold was great. The execution was, we've seen, that has to happen too, right? We just could go back to the first week. So the execution was great. The kick was great. But he has been consistent since we put him in camp. We've tried to simulate those the best we can with loud music, and he's been spot on. So we felt really confident in that situation. And Bramlett, as you saw, we made a bit of a change where we directionally kicked a little bit, and he was outstanding. We were pushing that ball closer to the sideline to squeeze our coverage teams into a better location. He's capable of kicking it 50-plus every time. We don't want to stretch out our coverage teams quite as much. So directionally, he was outstanding.
Just 2 quick ones. Does it feel like this season has flown by to you? And then secondly, facing another fellow analytic-minded coach, do you have to prepare your defense any differently to expect maybe, not necessarily the unexpected, but to be on the field longer?
Yes. We look at all those numbers, and there's some similarities there in terms of making sure our guys understand they're going to be on the field for most of the 4th down situations that are going to be occurring. So we've already had that meeting with the coordinators. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. So when you're enjoying what you're doing, it doesn't seem like it's, oh my God, it's October. I mean, it just feels like this is, this is what I wanted to do, and it's flying by.
Hey, Coach, right here. With Ole Miss's defense, what are some notable strengths that they have, and what are some things that you guys are going to have to look out for when it comes to that unit?
Well, it's hard to know exactly where the birds line up all the time. It's 3 down, it's 3-3, 3-4. They're playing with a nickel and dime. They're playing some invert. You don't know where some of the pressures. They're striking from the field. They're striking from the boundary. So you got to be on your toes. This is a week where recognition and understanding where it's coming from is going to be really important. So quarterback's is going to have to be on it. He's going to have to slide the right way. Our back's going to have to go coast to coast in some of their read progressions. There's got to be a better attention, in that regard, where sometimes when you're in 4 down, where the overload blitz is coming from, from 4 down situations, because you got to tip it. So you got to lock in on safeties. You got to look for the tells. This just is a week where you got to really do a really good job against them. Good. All right. Thank you.
Head coach Brian Kelly with this week's press conference presented by ASAP. Again, great news for the Tigers. Come off a win over the Florida Gators. Now get set to take on another top 10 team in the Ole Miss Rebels. Great rivalry game coming your way this Saturday with kickoff just after 2:30. We'll take a quick timeout. We come back, last news and notes, and then send you on your way. It's the Brian Kelly press conference delivered by ASAP.
We are partners, setting a new standard for health. Together, we prove that no matter how battle-tested we are, our spirit remains undefeated. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU are creating transformational change and impacting Louisiana with a new standard for healthcare, research, and education. Together, Our Lady of the Lake and LSU are champions for Louisiana. Together, we roar. Learn more at ololrmc.com/LSU.
Welcome back to our podcast here in the Bayous of Louisiana. We are looking for the exclusive multiplier games from the lottery with Louisiana's very first $20 scratch-off and a top prize of $500,000. Wait a tick. We found it! Hold on. What's that sound? I think I'll get a closer look. Wait!
Hey, that's the Explorer! He found the multiplier games!
Thank you, everyone.
Try all 5 multiplier games. You could win up to $500,000. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
since I was old enough to use Google. I was Googling engagement rings.
I'm Blake.
And I'm Ashley.
And we got our engagement ring at Lee Michaels.
We went to store after store and could not find anything I wanted.
I haven't been into very many jewelry stores before.
Then we went to Lee Michaels.
Rachel was great, very helpful.
She would send me pictures. The reputation is they have really amazing things, but they can be expensive as well.
It surprised me how affordable it was. She has very champagne-like taste.
I'm very picky.
Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, Corporate Boulevard, and the Mall of Louisiana.
The Baton Rouge Zoo is thrilled to host our most popular event of the year, Boo at the Zoo, October 22nd, 23rd, 29th, and 30th. By popular demand, treats will be available for children to pick up upon departing their zoo adventure, and we encourage creative costumes for all guests to create a merry, not scary experience. The zoo will have fall activities, photo ops, character meet and greets, and animal enrichments throughout the day. We hope you can make it to this fall family tradition for all ages. Boo at the Zoo. Visit brzoo.org for more details.
This is the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP.
LSU Ole Miss, Tiger Stadium, Saturday afternoon, nationally televised, the SEC on CBS. We'll get things started for you at 12:30 here on the network with LSU Game Day. Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite, and Hunt Palmer will start our day. And Doug Moore and Gordy Rush will join me inside Tiger Stadium for the kickoff. Rebels and Tigers just after 2:30 Saturday afternoon. A matchup of 7-0, Ole Miss 3-0 in SEC play, and you're fighting Tigers 5-2, 3-1 in conference action. Congratulations, Will Campbell, named Co-Offensive Lineman of the Week by the SEC office. Don't forget, coming up this Thursday, we'll have the Brian Kelly Show live at 7 o'clock from TJ Ribs. Hope to see you there. Certainly get a chance to hear from our head coach headed in to the big matchup on Saturday. Also a reminder, we will be off next week. No Brian Kelly press conference for the off week. We'll return on Halloween, Monday, October 31st, getting ready for, well, the next game on the schedule. Hope to see you at Death Valley on Saturday. Thanks to Gordy Rush. Thanks to you for stopping by. We'll see you back here on Monday, the 31st, for the Brian Kelly press conference delivered by ASAP.
Mark, 10 minutes until airtime.
This has been the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Download the ASAP app today.
Anytime. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Now, here's Charles Sandegriff.
And welcome you back into Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly press conference. I think it kind of went with the mood. I think everybody's in a pretty good mood around the building these days, or at least today. So kind of went along with that. So a few things that I picked out of it. This was not a whole lot of hard news. First of all, talking about the play calling and the execution of that. This is happening exactly the way that I thought it would, and this is the way it happens in most effective situations. Is the offensive play caller calls the plays, and the head coach manages the game, the third, fourth down situations, the clock, all of those things. This is the perfect operation of it. What LSU did in 19 was catch lightning in a bottle. It's not something that would ever be recommended to go do this as a format, to have two guys, one of them calling plays on first and second down, the other one calling plays on third down. That's not recommended. You know, it doesn't fit the model. I'm reminded of there's a guy in another market that I've known for years, and he asked me about the flagship for LSU, and I said, well, we're a talk radio station in the morning, and then we play rock and roll all day, and then we play college sports at night. He goes, who does that? Well, we've been number one in the market for like ever, so I don't know. It works for us. I wouldn't recommend you go do that necessarily in another market, but it works here. It worked in 19, okay? It didn't work in 20 at all. So that execution of the play calling is exactly what you want. You want the head coach to manage the game, but you want to put the play calling in the hands of one person. I was glad that he shares my thoughts on review, which the Brian Thomas catch, okay, when I saw it live, thought it was a catch, saw the replay, saw that the ball moved a fraction of an inch, and I don't think that when they put the rules together, okay, for football, that they ever intended that the ball stay completely stationary on every catch, okay? I knew as soon as I saw it, I knew they were going to overturn it. But we've gone from what the intention of replay was, which was to take these completely egregiously bad calls, okay? Mike Renfro in the AFC Championship game in 1978, bad calls, and eliminate those from the game. That was the intention of replay. What has happened is we have taken 24 plays a game and reduced them to looking at the Zapruder film. Here's President Kennedy in the motorcade. Here they come from behind it comes from behind the sign. His head goes back and to the left. I mean, we're going frame by frame. You ever see the Kennedy conspiracy theories? On frame number 308 of the Zapruder film, Kennedy's, eyebrow twitches. I mean, that's what we've taken to doing with this stuff, and it drives me crazy. All right, and I'm with Kelly on this. Okay, I don't need the officials looking at every single thing. Give the coaches a couple of challenges, and if they think they got hosed, go ahead and throw the flag. And otherwise, let's move on about our day. But I knew that they were going to do that, so they can look at that, all right, and they can decide that is not a catch. But they can't look at Tom Brady being tackled around the waist and put on the ground and say that's a bad call. I recommended like the God spot for the NFL, because you can't go back and review every pass interference. Oh wait, they tried that. Didn't really work all that well. So I'm definitely with him on that one. And then Damian Ramos, I missed an opportunity. We talked about this on the podcast today. By the way, you can go get the podcast, Apple, Spotify, 1045ESPN.com if the computer ever releases it, because the computer wanted to eat the podcast for this morning. Gordy and I did a review of the game. Hopefully that'll be up later this afternoon. I missed an opportunity on the post game to give Ramos a game ball. Should have. This is another example of the progress that has been made by LSU. In 7 weeks, they've gone from not being able to make an extra point or a 30-yard field goal to drilling a 47-yarder to put the game away. Well, that's progress, all right? Daniels has progressed from the first game where he was taking off and running at first, the sign of any trouble, to a guy who threw 3 touchdown passes the other night and had a fantastic football game. They went from having players out of position on the offensive line in the first game to having the right 5 guys. They've had to shuffle a lot because of the injuries. Found 2 true freshmen that are going to be real stabilizing members of that offensive line for a while. That is great progress. You went from Harold Perkins only playing on special teams in the first game to playing a lot and then not having him on the field as much as you needed to last week to there he was, late in that game. Was Richardson going anywhere? Not without 40, being right there in his hip pocket. That is progress. Another player that I thought played well in the game on Saturday night that we've seen only just a little bit of was Savion Jones. Here's another young, talented, very athletic lineman that LSU's trying to get in there. Frankly, I've seen him make maybe as many plays in a couple games that he's gotten some extensive playing time as Ali Gay's made all year. And it's not saying anything about Gay, but when I see Jones out there, I noticed him making some plays. That's progress, okay? You went from not getting the ball to Kayshon Boutte at all in the first week to trying to get him the ball a little bit to now he is your leading receiver. That's progress. When you see these things, it makes you feel like you're on the right track, that you've got the right guy, that none of this is happening. And none of it ever happens as fast as you want it to. You would have liked him to be perfect in the first game, but it doesn't work that way. The trust level, I'm going to use that word again, has to build up. And the trust level is now building, I think, between the players and the coaches, between the quarterback and the receivers, certainly. And when he talked about giving the game ball to Josh Williams, it was the attention to detail. Now, I don't know what particular details he's talking about. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not in the meetings, not on the practice field. All I know is Josh Williams ran for over 100 yards the other night, and it was a big, big reason that LSU was able to win this ball game. All of those things are encouraging. I'm still as frustrated as anybody with the special teams issues. I would have liked to, as we talked about this a little bit on the podcast, I would have liked to have heard it as why they were, right before the kickoff against Tennessee, they were motioning for the returning people to come up. They were doing the same thing, at least Brian Polian was, on the sideline before the fumbled punt. And I was just curious why it changed. Why wasn't Besh where he was supposed to be, or the other kickoff return man where he was supposed to be beforehand? Now Tennessee, I think, swapped something up, but the other night, I mean, you should know how far the Florida punter usually kicks the ball. I mean, I didn't think the wind changed. So I would have liked to have heard that. But even those mistakes they got a little bit better, towards the rest of the game. I mean, after the long kickoff return, I was nervous every time LSU put the ball in the air, but they got it done the rest of the way. So all of that is very positive. And I'll tell you something else. When we get to next week, we'll probably spend a little bit of time talking about this. He talked about some of the self-scouting that they do. I love this. You get a chance to do it a little bit more thoroughly in the off week, but I love the fact that, they go in, they figure things out that aren't working, and they change them. There's nothing more frustrating than watching a coach make the same mistakes over and over again. You put a guy in, you make a mistake, you correct it, and you move on. That's good coaching. You keep doing the same thing over and over again, unless you're still running the ball too much on first down. It gets very, very frustrating. I mean, no coach out there is perfect. Nobody's ever going to get everything right the first time. But if you get something wrong and you correct it and you don't do it again, well, then that's progress. And it's taken a little while because they have made some of the same mistakes over and over again on special teams. Hopefully they are, getting ready to turn the corner. It's been 7 games. Some of this stuff has gotten better. Some of it hasn't. But overall, you like the direction that they're going in. So some of the takeaways from Brian Kelly's press conference. We'll take a break. We'll take your questions out of the chat when we come back here, and then turn you over to Hunt and Hill. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. You going out tailgating? Look, it's supposed to be fantastic weather this weekend for LSU and Ole Miss. Going to get a little chilly in the middle of the week, but everything will warm back up for the weekend. Make your tailgating decisions with Supreme Rice. You're going to have red beans. You're going to have stew. You're going to have some kind of jambalaya or a gumbo or whatever it is you're making. Make it with Supreme Rice, whether it's in the long grain, the medium grain, the brown, or the jasmine. Supreme Rice has been delighting their customers since the 1930s. And know when you buy Supreme Rice, you'll be supporting our Louisiana farmers down in Southwest Louisiana all the way since the 1930s. Very easy to get your Supreme Rice. You can get it at all of your Rouse's. Stop by Rouse's on the way in. We'll be doing pregame there. Get your rice at Rouse's or any of your AG food stores, your Costco's, your Walmarts as well have Supreme Rice. So you're looking to stretch your food dollar and enjoy a delicious meal, do it with Supreme Rice. For more information and great recipes, some unique stuff, go to SupremeRice.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% with 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Miller Lite has more taste and only 1 more calorie than Michelob Ultra.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for
Tuesdays, OTB. Nick Underhill helps us make sense of the Saints season. Plus, LSU Florida film review. And we'll start to look forward to a battle against Ole Miss. OTB, 104.5 ESPN.
Anytime with Charles Annegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Taking your questions out of the chat. I have a question. I'm going to ask you guys this because, well, I'll ask the chat too. Anybody want to chime in on this? Teddy Bridgewater was cleared to play yesterday. I know because he did, except he didn't start. So somewhere in the Miami Dolphin hierarchy, they decided that even though Teddy Bridgewater was healthy enough to play, and as it turned out, healthy enough to throw for 329 yards, they chose to start the Kansas State rookie Skylar Thompson on purpose? Help me out here.
Yeah, I would think so. I'm kind of.
You have a rookie quarterback from Kansas State who, look, last week when they took Bridgewater out of the game and, he was concussed, I guess, because of the overreaction to the Tua thing. Tua they should have taken out of the game and didn't. Bridgewater they should have put back in the game and didn't. This week in the Miami Dolphins brain trust, they decided, yeah, well, Teddy's healthy enough to play, but we'd rather play Skylar Thompson. Is that what somebody said?
Yeah, and even better than that, Tua cleared concussion protocols on Saturday, but he wasn't. They didn't want to suit him up at all either.
So they had two.
Yeah, Tua cleared the protocol Saturday.
Your first string quarterback and your second string quarterback, who has been a starter in this league before, they decided, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to play Skylar Thompson. I swear to you, Miami, Denver, the Chargers, the Raiders a little bit. These guys all want to be the smartest guy in the room. They all want to be, hey, I'm going to think of something that nobody else has thought of. There's a reason nobody else has thought of it, because nobody in their right mind would start Skylar Thompson over Teddy Bridgewater. Please. Just, if I was the owner, I'd be just like, and the owner's, not exactly the most above board guy either, but just run the team the way you're supposed to, okay? Just do what you're told. I would have loved to have been in that meeting. Well, we got, and I didn't even know the Tua thing. Thank you, Taylor. I didn't even know that. I knew about Teddy Bridgewater because I watched him play. I watched him throw for 329 yards. Start the other guy. I'll show you. I'll come up with this rookie from Kansas State, and we'll beat the Minnesota Vikings with him. No, you're not. Of course, I didn't beat him with Teddy Bridgewater either, so what do I know? What did so ask us out of the chat? What did I think of the roughing call on Daniels? That's the way the rule is written. You may not care for the rule, but the rule is if you land with your full body weight and make no attempt to, transfer it at all, then it's a flag. You can't land completely if you can help it at all, and you have to try really hard to help it. So it's called the way that the rule is written. This wasn't always the rule, but it is now. What do I think about Brian Polian coming back next year? Listen, they're going to evaluate a lot of things in the offseason. They do every year, and it's been a rough go for Polian. I mean, he's not gotten the results that he's needed to. He's been a special teams coach for a long time. He's coached for a long time. I don't think that all of a sudden he has forgotten how to coach, but for whatever reason, the message is not getting there. So what do? You either change how you're delivering the message, or you change the messenger. I'm not there yet. I want to see how the rest of the season goes, because again, it's gotten better. Okay. But it started off so horrifically bad that it's hard to see maybe, but it has gotten a little bit better. Like Ramos. Okay. You think Ramos could have gone out there and kicked a 47-yard field goal in the Superdome? No, he couldn't kick a 20-yard in the Superdome. That's progress, okay? The rest of the coverage units, they're still having breakdowns, but are they better than they were 4 weeks ago? Yes. What are they going to look like 6 weeks from now? I don't know. Is Polian frustrated? I'm sure. I mean, you're not talking about an unqualified coach here. You're talking about an extremely qualified coach who is having a bad year. So what do? Like I said, you either fix the message or you fix the messenger. One of the two. That'll be up to Brian Kelly. Has the Honey Badger made any plays this year? One, the interception against Minnesota in the London game, but no, he is not. The way I understand it, the way people that cover the Saints look and see this at practice every day, is they really miss Marcus May. And if Marcus May was back there playing center field, then Matthew would have a lot more free reign to do the things that he does closer to the line of scrimmage. Is that accurate? I don't know. Haven't seen enough of the Saints with both of those guys back there to know. And would that fix everything? I probably not. But no, he has not been the same. And there was talk about was Matthew a declining player. He is not the player that he was in his prime, but he is still, I think, a very good NFL player. But look, the Chiefs let him walk for a reason. It's a pretty good organization up there in Kansas City. If the Jets had let him walk, you'd go, well, the Jets are stupid, all right? Because most of the time the Jets are stupid. But or if he was in Miami, if Miami had let him walk, or Denver, you go. Denver used to be a good operation, and then, well, the owner died. And ever since then, they've, had a few problems. And now they've hired a coach who's absolutely awful. But, there was a reason that Kansas City let him go. I still think he can be is a really good NFL player, but has he had a good year? No. Charlie Mario is going to be very angry that you keep mispronouncing Ramos. How am I saying it wrong?
I mean, Ramos.
It's Ramos.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Ramos,
Okay. I stand corrected. Want to get it right for sure. Ramos. Sorry. Let's see. What was the question? It was a question of fumble or incomplete pass on the call late in the game. Help me out here. The incomplete pass. We're talking about the fumble on Perkins that Perkins caused. I think that his arm is coming forward, but does he have control of the ball? I thought it was a fumble, but they give you a lot of latitude if your arm is coming forward, if you're even touching the ball, if you're even pushing the ball. They're going to give you credit for a forward pass. You see a lot of times, and this happens in the NFL a good bit, when a player is outside of the pocket and they just want to throw it away, they'll almost underhand it, or they'll do like a little push pass out of bounds, and they'll give you credit there, which, and of course, that looks nothing like what you would consider a forward pass, but that counts too. Ask Hanny, how should we pronounce Mario's name? Am I saying your name right?
Same thing. It's not really right or wrong. Just the inflection is supposed to be Mario instead of Mario.
I think do I say Mario?
It kind of sounds like Mario when they're saying it, which is why I think they're poking fun at you.
Hey, look, I'm from Franklin, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
People.
Some of this stuff just happens.
Exactly. Same with people from the north. They say Mario. It is what it is.
Okay. I'm gonna Mario.
There you go.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna try to Ramos. By the way, I made a C- in Spanish and was lucky to do that.
Hey, you passed.
I did. It was almost give me a D for diploma type of deal. Foreign language was not my strong suit. All right, Hunt and Hill are next. Thanks to everybody for participating today. For Mario and Taylor. Am I saying Taylor right at least?
Yeah, my name's pretty simple. Yeah,
Okay,
that's correct.
Got that. Nice job, Jones. All right. See you tomorrow. Anytime, 104.5 ESPN.